This is the coffee I drank. And that's the watch I used. I felt it appropriate to use the Seagull watch given its color combinations. I had recorded this video before, and I didn't like the way that it sounded. It sounded very dramatic and very depressing. I wrote for almost 4 hours today. I don't know, I guess I wanted to write for a really long time to see if I could. I didn't think I couldn't, but it's not something I've done in a long time. I don't know what I was going for. I think maybe I was going for dramatics. I scrapped that version and I'm re-recording this version, which basically is the same things that I talked about, but I wanted to make it, I don't know, a little bit lighter. So I feel like that version is not me all the time, or mostly. I think that way and I think I write that way, but I talk more like this. What did I write about? Well, mostly I wrote for 4 hours just to see that I could. I do have some questions actually at the end that I'm going to pose, or that I'm going to talk about loosely. The writing bit, it's not something I've done in a long time. I basically wrote for 4 hours in one clump of time. Most of it was poetry or musings or ideas. I did some drawings. I didn't think anything profound was going to come out of it, or you just draw on the paper. And I had a few comics that I sketched up on a notepad. I guess I'll read something that I wrote. At one point, I was getting annoyed. I was writing with an ink pen, so I didn't want the ink pen, the dip pen to, like, I'm left-handed, so I didn't want it to smear on the underside of my hand. So I was holding my arm in a weird position, trying to write so that my hand wasn't touching the page. So I did this thing where I started writing up from the page. It reads better going the normal way rather than the way that I wrote, which was up. I'll read it the way that I like, the way it sounds better, even though I wrote it backwards. Figure that out. Coffee gone cold, wash my hand, my left hand. Writing to accommodate which way is up, cutting ties, moving up, breakdance writing. There was something that I really liked here. Wow, when you look through the pages that you've done, or anything that you've done for a certain amount of times, you look back at it, you're like, that's all I did? In 4 hours? The coffee had gone cold, the music stale, I've used too much ink. Walking along the walkway, a brisk cold, fighting for entry, a dark morning highway drive at 4 a.m. Quite the way to spend the first few hours. I would have wasted it all sleeping. The concrete steps down into the blackness were foreboding unknown. Yet still I traveled down. It's true the blackness consumed me, and suddenly the cold breached my outer layers. Yet still I reached the bottom, on to even colder tile. A shoe print was left behind. Thick mud was the last present. I tried the light. It flicked. Nothing. Alright, so romantic ideas. Romantic with a capital R. What do you guys all think of it? So romantic ideas would be something like living in the 1800s, when we all know the 1800s were probably a very uncomfortable time to live. So I'm sure it's all great in the movies, but in real life, I have this thing in my writing, a theme that I write about, which is cigarettes. I don't know why I write about smoking and cigarettes in stories that I write. Did I say that? I already said writing. Moving on. Another romantic idea that I have is that I'm a little nostalgic for a past that I've never lived. So I was just wondering if any of you had romantic ideas. Capital R. I might not even put this in. What I did want to talk about was watch sizes. So this was my first watch. So this is 44 millimeters. On a woman's wrist is, according to some people, is gigantic and should never be done. My wrist is 5.5 inches. I'm kind of a little embarrassed that I know that. Anyway, on the opposite end, my smallest watch that I have is this Omega Seamaster. This is 34 millimeters. So this is a far smaller watch compared to the Diver. It's a little ridiculous. The Seamaster is completely dwarfed. I like watches. I think I'm not gonna get a crazy big watch. 44 might be a little too big for me, but I would say anything 42 and below, why not? Things change, things in society progress, new things come out, innovations, styles, fashion. Who says that I only have to wear a watch that is sub 36 millimeters. This would probably be my last big watch. I do have plans to, from this point forward, look at smaller watches, 34 millimeters, because this is, I like it. I like bigger watches as well. This is a 39 millimeter. I don't know why people would have a problem with the size of this watch on my wrist. There can be watches that are far too big. After all that rambling, tell me what you think, or not. I don't really have an ending for this video. That was just a short snippet of things that I've done, that I've talked about, that I want to introduce more of. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about that. So.